Hello everybody and welcome to this session about using desktop AR as a way of connecting museums, museum objects and stories with school. My name is Emily Smith and I'm representing Perception Codes here in the UK, and I have far too many years working in the museum and heritage sector. And I'd like to introduce my colleagues Rabbit, Dr. Siritsin Konzin, who hopefully, has appeared on the screen above. Siritsin is the CEO and founder of Perception Codes, who have invented this technology. Siritsin is a lecturer in software engineering at Thammasat University and a specialist in human and computer interaction. And then I'm pleased to mention here, welcome here in person, John Glancy, who is executive producer for families and schools at Imperial War Museums across all 5 sites, both on-site and online, and is absolutely passionate about using cultural innovation as a real platform for change. So we've got a really short time, so I'll go straight over to Rabbit to ask Dr. Siritsin, also known as Rabbit, to ask us to introduce us to desktop AR as a platform and explain a little bit about the project that we've been working on.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you everyone for being here. As Emily has shared, my name is Silicin, and as an immersive technology researcher, my research focused mainly on augmented reality technology, a different kind of augmented reality called desktop AR, which I will be sharing with you guys today. And I also teach software engineers, and I have been living abroad in the EU, in the US, and in Japan. So I'm really very passionate about mixing cultures and sharing people and getting students to expose to new cultures and understand how big the world is. So with that, we can see that if you look at the UK, for example, only about 34,000 students went abroad, and about 1.4% of those students that's all that have a chance to go, and 50% of that went to the US or EU. So pretty much in the same culture that they have experienced. But at the same time, that's pretty much the same story in Thailand as well, where it's about 1.4% of students get to travel and experience new culture. Now, with this such a limited exposure to the world, it is very difficult for everyone, even not just students, to be compassionate about people or the things that they don't know and they have never experienced before. So one of the key solutions to that is to use immersive technologies. Well, now, one of the 2 most common augmented reality technologies that we have at this time is the headset augmented reality device, where you can put on and you can look through the transparent glasses. But at the same time, this kind of a device cost can go up drastically, can be a couple of £1,000s per unit per students. This can definitely hinder the schools, and students' ability to access this kind of technologies. But at the same time, if we use a mobile-based device, it is highly accessible, but at the end of the day, this is just a 2D image laying on top of the video stream, which is hardly immersive, or nothing really come out of it. And it's much harder to engage with this kind of an experience. So with that, we create a new kind of technology called desktop AR. So if you look on the top left here, you will see the example model floating in front of the screen. As you look to the left and to the right, it seems to be changing its appearance that match your perspective. And to the actual students, they will feel as if these models are actually floating in front of their eyes, almost can touch it. Now, how it works is quite simple. The red and blue glasses may remind you of the good old days. Definitely, there is a stereoscopic here. However, the key advancement here is that the cameras on top of the screen, it keeps track where the user is looking at all time. And the pictures on the screen always match your perspective at all time. So it is the combination of that head tracking and the 3D image is what create the illusion of volumetric experience. Now, our goal here basically is to make it accessible by all. So therefore, instead of paying for expensive device, students at any level can just use existing device that they have, namely computers, and DIY glasses, or somewhere around 50-cent glasses also work. and then they can have this immersive experience right away. Our goal here is to spark imagination through interaction, getting them closer to the model, getting them closer to other cultures, and getting them engaged and want to learn more and be passionate. And last but not least is to democratize immersive learning experience. Because as an educator, I found that the most important role for us is to spark that passion and get the student engaged. It's all about the mindset. With that, we are very fortunate and very grateful to receive these opportunities to work with Science and Museum Group and the Imperial War Museums. For the Science Museum Group experience, we are showcasing the Silverson rocket, where students can download and play with this rocket as if it is floating in front of their eyes. So they can play it, turn around it, make it bigger, so small, as if you can touch it in their own hands. But at the same time, apart from the rocket itself, the students can also download and engage experience from the Imperial War Museums, where they can learn about the Merlin Rolls-Royce engine from the Spitfire plane in the World War II. So basically for the schools and the students who are very passionate about STEMs and very histories, they can learn about how the combustion works, and they can engage and playing with more immersive experience. With this, I'd like to invite you all, if you like to try these Holo-MUSEUMs, we do have it available on the Holo-MUSEUM website. All you need is the 50-cent glasses, and you can enjoy this experience by yourself on your computer. However, for today's sessions, we do have an experience set up in the sponsor hall, where Emily is there to share with you the experience and have a demonstration system set up along with the glasses, so you can experience these immersive technologies firsthand. And hopefully together we can bring museums to students all around the world and share cultures and mix and enable students around the world to be openly and mindfully minded about different parts of the world. Thank you very much, Emily.
I'd like to turn now to John Glancy from the Imperial War Museums, who is one of the early adopters and innovators in this technology and saw the opportunities for engaging students with Imperial War Museum stories and objects through this. Could you tell us all a little bit more about how you've chosen to use this technology in your school's programming?
Yeah. So I'm in charge of schools at Imperial War Museums, and like many colleagues and some people in this room, when the museums closed last March, schools digital exploded. We went from, as a sector, of having downloadable PDFs and lesson plans and worksheets and associated digital program, which didn't really mean much, to within 2-3 months, we were seeing broadcast quality, incredibly insightful presenter-led digital outputs coming from across the sector. And we were much the same. And so I thought, well, the best thing for us to do is to really embrace this frontier, and it is a frontier, and say, what is next? So we were approached by Perception Codes, and we saw this desktop way to engage with something immersively. So as Rabbit said, this is not massively expensive Oculus systems, this is not kit, this is not wired, this is a laptop, this is a screen. Digital equality exists, but a lot of people will have access to this tech. And we decided, well, how do we use it? Now, I was very conscious that having this just as a standalone means that we're somehow replicating collections, and I don't think you can ever replicate that live experience of seeing something in a museum. So was this a time to look at it in a slightly different way? So what we decided to do was to couch this technology and couch this experience within a larger learning suite. Now, in this case, we were talking about the Merlin engine, which obviously powered the Spitfire aircraft and various others during the Second World War and after. But we wanted to say, well, what's the story that's left to tell? What's the stories that we really want to tell about that? And so what we decided to do is, rather than tell the story of the service history of the Spitfire, which is well known, or the Battle of Britain, which is talked about in schools a lot, we said, well, let's talk about this object for what it is, which is an amazing piece of scientific innovation. And more with our learning resources, we're obviously couching in history. That is our core remit. We are here to talk about conflict. But also we like to hang things on cross-curricularly. So in this case, we started talking about chemistry and physics. For what is an engine, doesn't matter if it goes in a Spitfire or a steamroller. Fundamentally, it's a combustion engine. It uses the same things. It uses hydrocarbons. It uses fuel. And so we talked about that and that kind of really solid stem, but within the kind of umbrella of our collections, our stories, and our objects. And that's really how we kind of push that. So we wanted to use this technology as a touch paper for further engagement, rather than just a kind of standalone look at something that's really cool, because it is, but that's fleeting. Learning needs to be meaningful, it needs to be layered, it needs to be couched in something else. In terms of how we're going to test this is very much a pilot, it's a demonstrator for us. So we've decided initially just to engage with schools, secondary schools in Cambridgeshire and Essex, which are two very close counties to IWM Duxford, which is the home of many Spitfires. In fact, within the resource, we managed to get one started up, which was very exciting, and it did make me cheer when I watched the video back. And we really want to see what schools think about this. Now, we've worked very much within our local area, and our longer term plan on this is, does this tech work? And, you know, Imperial War Museums as a national, is this, and I always talk about this, is that's great, we're based in Lambeth or Manchester, and, you know, it's not about how we engage with schools in Croydon, it's how we engage with schools in Shetland. And that's us being a true national and really engaging it. So one of the other things is we made sure that all of our curriculum links acknowledge the fact that we have 4 curricula within the UK, and we look at those points as well.
Thank you so much. And can I also ask, just to kind of build on what you've talked about, what you think the future for digitisation for museums is and how that will affect learning programmes in the future?
I think that, again, it comes into this idea, it's another avenue of engagement. I don't think that digital will ever replace physical collections, and neither it should. As I believe that museums should be a live experience. And we obviously want to welcome schools and all of our other audiences into our doors all the time. But what this gives us an opportunity for, in the same way that a good marketing campaign does, in the same way that good publications do, it's another pathway in. So if you see this desktop AR technology, you're interested by that object, and that leads you to a website, that leads you to an address, that leads you to a bus, and that leads you to a museum's gallery, then it's done its job. But also, by the same token, if you're not able to access that, for whatever reasons, be it proximity, be it economic status, be it the country that you live in, you still have that opportunity to engage with that collection. So again, it's offering that other pathway. So I think that as we explore what this, especially with schools, this frontier looks like, we always have to focus it towards access and accessing our collections either digitally or physically. We need to kind of throw this concept of it being tiered out and actually understand that engagement's what we're about, and giving somebody that cultural experience, whether they're doing it from their desk in their house or whether they're doing it from the atrium of the Imperial War Museum.
Brilliant, thank you so much. And we've had a lot of fun on the project over the course of the last few months, and you've made some really interesting comments about the collaboration model, bringing together very diverse expertise from quite literally right across the globe to make this happen. Could you maybe comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think this has been a really nice thing to work on, because I kind of feel like this has been a true collaboration. I think that sectorally we talk about collaboration and co-working a lot, and it was interesting, it was reflected in a session that I was just in. We don't always mean that. Actually, a lot of the collaboration that we do is in fact transaction. Now that doesn't matter whether you're doing a digital museum project or whether you're buying a sandwich. There's still that intrinsic client service provider relationship. Now what we've managed to do with this project is that we've managed to basically have a pure collaboration. This is a demonstrator project. I was approached and these guys didn't necessarily just want to work with us. They were looking for people that saw the potential. And what we've done is we created a collaboration where we've all been able to work to our skills. So my team's been able to work really hard on this, and my team are expert educators and expert digital creators, and they've been able to do what they do really, really well. Rabbit and his team and Emily are expert digital designers. They've been able to bring their skills in base. And it means that throughout the process, because there hasn't been that kind of intrinsic, like, here's some money, I'll see you in 6 months, and I'll just look over things and tick them off. Because we've not went through that stage, it means we've been able to be really honest with each other. So there's been lots of really positive conversations, and, you know, Rabbit and the guys are great to work with, but there's been lots of really kind of honest conversations about where our expertise kind of cross over. So one of the key things that I was really, really passionate about was that this had to sit in a standalone learning experience, because not everybody has glasses, not everybody's going to do it. It needed to work on its own 2 feet. So that was basically to me, is like, I need to do something really, really good regardless of this. Whereas when Rabbit's coming in, it's like, well, actually, let's work with me and I can get this to a point where it becomes absolutely embedded in this experience. So we basically work, and you know, and there were certain things about, we didn't start this with a firm deadline. We're like, we want to get it out sometime before the end of the year. It ended up being about a month later than we actually expected to, and that was appropriate because the work wasn't right yet. And because this was a demonstrator project, we had that room to breathe and that room to play and that room to get it really right before it went out to market. So it has been, because it's been a really positive thing to work on, because it has been a true collaboration as opposed to a collaboration where, you know, someone's technically in charge. So that's been a really positive thing.
Thanks, John. And Rabbit, going over to you. Sorry, it's funny to see you kind of behind me. But I'm just interested in your perspective on the future of both the Holo-MUSEUM. You know, what's your kind of vision for that platform, and also the future for the technology itself? What other manifestations could be achieved using the 3D desktop AR?
Thank you, Emily. So moving forward, I think there are 2 things that we are looking to see in the upcoming years. As John has mentioned, this is a collaborative project, and we are still expanding and still looking for partners and collaborators to spearhead and, you know, to join this platform to show the experience and enable students around the world. Currently, we have 2 more museums, one from South Africa and the other one from Romania, showcasing their artifacts on the experience as well. However, we're still looking for more partners who like to, you know, be part of this platform. But at the same time, we are looking to expand into bring new interactivities and fundraising opportunities using desktop AR technologies in combination with NFTs. So you can think about, instead of just showcasing the holographic artifacts or metaverse, you can think about enable NFT collectors to own these volumetric objects or, you know, virtual objects, you know, virtual historical artifacts in their collections. Now, can be a new way for audience of the museums can engage with the collection, but at the same time, we hope that this will be one of the key force that help promote preservation quest that we will be having in the next upcoming years. So with that, really looking forward to engage and expand our collaboration, both in the Holo-MUSEUM side and the NFT projects with every museums in this conference. Thank you very much, Emily.
Thanks a lot, Rabbit. And just to say that we are, myself and my colleagues Kieran and Francis, are in the sponsor hall. If you want to come and explore the Merlin engine and Stephenson's rocket, you'll see us weather table that's got loads of 3D glasses on it. Now, I think that the online platform gets shut off very quickly, so I just want to make sure that I've picked up any questions that have come through. Will schools have to pay to access this tech? No, what we're doing at the moment is doing the development through perception codes, as Rabbit suggested, as a number of demonstrator projects, and then the museums that want to work with us we will produce 3D glasses to send to their choice audiences. And in John and the Imperial War Museum's case, this has been schools who are close to the Spitfire planes near Duxford. Just to say, hardware is cheap, the cost of the software. So yes, as Rabbit mentioned, we are looking at the moment for more demonstrator partners, people who are interested in exploring this technology with us. So please come and find us again in the hall. And are there any quick questions? I think we've got 40 seconds from the audience. I know you onliners are about to get hoisted off, so thank you so much for joining us, and please contact myself and Rabbit and John with any questions, interests.